Triumph out of tragedy. Carol Holley of Delta Junction, Alaska, tells the story of how angels brought triumph out of tragedy in her life. Carol writes, on July 25, 1992, my husband and I had traveled 100 miles to Fairbanks, Alaska, to pick up my parents who were coming for a visit. Even though we were driving home a little after midnight, it was still light. The sun had just dipped below the horizon. After 15 miles from home, we were driving through a swampy area with a slight drop-off on the right side of the road when suddenly a moose sprang onto the road. I didn't think my husband even got his foot off the accelerator. It felt as though we hit a brick wall. Then I was aware of the tremendous weight in my lap. I slowly opened my eyes. It was the windshield. Except for a cut on my arm, I was okay. My husband was killed instantly. We were driving a small Saab with a sunroof that was slightly open at the time. The front of the car apparently knocked the moose off its feet and it landed on the strip of the roof between the top of the windshield and the sunroof. That strip of metal crushed into the front seat, hitting my husband's head. A couple of weeks later, the smashed car was towed to my house and left out by the garage. In my attempt to make some sense out of the greatest tragedy of my life, I went out to examine the car. I swept away enough glass to sit once again in the passenger seat and saw something that made me think that there may really be a God. The strip of metal that had come crashing in, killing my husband, had confirmed around my head without the slightest contact. From where I was sitting in the car, there was only about an inch of space where the metal had wrapped itself around my head. Even then, in my pagan mindset, the only explanation I could think of was that an angel had reached down and put his hand in front of my face and the metal just went around. Now, all these years later, I have no doubt this is what happened. God had to take drastic measure to reach me, and it worked. I am now a leader in my local church, and my son was baptized 2 years ago in the Jordan River. Considering my negative attitude toward Christianity when my son was young, this is truly a miracle. I pray that someday I could thank that angel face to face. As I think back on my life, it took the death of 2 men to save me: Jesus for my salvation, and my husband to bring me to a point of openness to Christ for salvation and relief from pain. Isaiah 63 verse 9 says, in all their affliction he was afflicted, and the angel of his presence saved them. In his love and in his mercy he redeemed them, and he lifted them and carried them all the days of old. God bless you, friends.